This is SILL Talks, episode 24. Hello, Star Architects. Welcome to another insightful episode of the SILL Talks Podcast. I am your host, Egbeiyon Leonard. SILL Talks is the podcast dedicated to helping architects and creatives develop practical strategies to build businesses that are profitable and sustainable. And today's conversation is one every architect I know has lived. Whether you're just starting out or you've been in practice long enough to know that this problem doesn't disappear on its own. I'm talking about why architects are always owed money. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever seen a client's name pop up on your phone? A client that you've worked for. And before you even read the message, your body reacted. No excitement, no curiosity, just that slight tightening in your chest. Because deep down, you already knew what the message was about. It wasn't payment confirmation. It was not appreciation. It was not closure. It was something familiar. Just give me a little more time. Next week, definitely I will sort it out. And that next week never comes. And in that moment, before you reply, something shifts inside you. Your tone changes. Your confidence drops a step. You start choosing your words carefully, not because you are wrong. You have heard it all before, but because you don't want to sound like you are begging. Now, if that feeling is familiar, if you've been there before, stay with me. This episode is not advice, it is memory. That feeling I described earlier, that pause before replying, that internal negotiation with yourself, that is not random. It is the accumulation of something we rarely talk about as architects. And it is the quiet pain we carry. Now, there's a kind of pain architects carry quietly. Not stress, not burnout, not those long nights in the studio where we already expected suffering as a norm anyway. This one is different. It is the pain of doing your best and still being treated like you are begging. You showed up when it mattered. You delivered when it was hard. You adjusted when things changed, because that is what professionals do. And yet, you are the one following up. You are the one typing, "Good morning, sir," with careful humility. You are the one adding "kindly" and "please" to an invoice, like money is a favor. And you know the worst part? It's not even the lack of payment. No, it is that feeling of smallness that comes with chasing your own money. After a while, a quiet question begins to form in your mind. Is this how I will continue in this architectural industry? Before we answer that, let's actually go back to where it usually begins. Because this pattern doesn't start with bad clients. No, it usually starts with good intentions. One innocent decision that changes the whole power dynamic. The first project trap. Think back to your early days. Your first real project, that excitement, that hunger, that feeling of this is it. I am here. You didn't want to look difficult. You didn't want to lose momentum. You didn't want money to be the thing that slows down the dream. So you told yourself, let me just prove myself first. You started work without mobilization. You assumed agreements instead of insisting on it. You said yes to extras. Not because you were foolish. No, but because you cared, and you cared genuinely for that matter. And for a moment, it felt rewarding. You were in on it. The client praised you. They admired your dedication. They introduced you proudly. Yeah, this is my architect. And then payment wahala came up. And suddenly, their response became softer, less direct, more of, "we'll sort it out later." Calls reduced and messages became vague. Timelines started stretching, without explanation. And that's the first quiet lesson many of us learned the hard way. Good work does not automatically translate to good payment. And here's the real angle to it. It's not that your work suddenly becomes, less valuable or became less valuable for that matter. It's that you unknowingly taught the client something. Work can move without money. And once a client learns that particular client, they rarely unlearn it, especially when it comes to you. So why does this circle repeat itself? To understand that, we need to look at the gap, not between architect and client, but between how value is seen. Because sometimes the client isn't just wicked or trying to cut corners. They are just operating with a different definition of what real work means to them. So here's the hard truth we also as architects need to accept without anger. Most clients don't set out to cheat us. Let's keep that aside. They don't experience our work the way we do. To them, a drawing is just a drawing. A meeting is just us talking and thinking. Of course, it's part of our job. And in their mind, real value is what they can touch. I've just noticed that when it comes to buying blocks, paying for concrete, buying steel on site, it's easy to make that decision. So if, for example, they have ₦1 million and pressure is rising, their brain automatically goes, let's pay the person on site. Let's buy material. Let's push work so it doesn't stop. And the architect becomes future payment. Not because you're useless. No, but because your value is invincible. And your real work is preventing mistakes even before they happen. Catching issues early. Coordinating decisions so money doesn't get wasted. Saying to people, don't do this, before it becomes demolition later. But the problem with prevention is this. When you do it very well, it looks like nothing happened. That's the paradox. A good architect saves a client from problems, and the same client turns back to say, what did you really do? And once your value feels invisible, another thing starts to happen. Because when a client can't see clearly where your value begins and ends, your boundaries also start losing shape. And scope creep becomes the order of your day. So let me describe something you've probably lived through. A casual call. Just help me move this wall, architect. It won't take your time. Is it not AutoCAD? As if the computer will make the decisions itself. And you're already on the project anyway, so you agree. Because at the moment it feels harmless, right? And you don't want to be that architect that is too rigid. After all, they have promised you future work. Then one change becomes 3. 3 becomes 5. 5 becomes regular check-ins. Extra drawings, extra meetings, extra site visits. And none of it feels dramatic in the moment. It is small things. Just small adjustment here. Just one quick review. Just confirm something. And that's how scope creep wins. It doesn't announce itself. It accumulates. Until months later when you finally bring up payment and the client's response is, but haven't we paid you? And you pause, your eye clear. Everywhere go first blur. Technically, yes, something was paid. But realistically, the work doubled, the stress tripled, and your time disappeared. And now, even you feel unsure how to quantify it. That hesitation doesn't just affect your invoice. It starts affecting you. Because when you can't confidently define your value, you start negotiating with yourself. And that's where the real damage begins. Not just financially, no, emotionally. You begin to second guess yourself. You send an invoice, then you start apologizing inside it. You follow up, then feel guilty for even following up. You start shrinking your own price just because you want to avoid issues. And resentment grows, and it grows quietly. Not loud resentment, the quiet one. The one that makes you look at architecture and think, is this even worth it? Slowly, endurance becomes normal. You start telling younger architects, that's so the industry build. You have to suffer. And here's the truth we don't say out loud enough. Tired people don't build strong practices. And unpaid architects eventually stop enjoying what they once loved. At some point, something has to give. And for many architects, it doesn't come as a fight. It comes as clarity. A quiet click in your head. One day it hits. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a simple, uncomfortable realization that, wait, I am not always old because clients don't like me. No, I am old because I never made payment non-negotiable. That truth in itself hurts, but it also gives you something back, control. Because if the problem is structural, it can be fixed, right? And that's where the real work begins. which is what this episode is here for. Now, let's talk about realistic solutions, not the loud, motivational kind, not to be confident or know your worth kind. No, I'm talking about quiet changes, real changes that you can make. The kind that doesn't look, all in your face, but quietly changes how your clients relate with you. I'm going to jump right into it. Number 1, stop working without mobilization. I'm starting with this one because this is where most architects quietly lose their control. If no mobilization is paid, nothing starts. No sketches, no concepts, no drafts, no, let me just help you small. And I know how uncomfortable this may sound. Believe me, I have lived it. There was a time early in our practice, way back, when a client actually reported me to my mentor. His exact words were, "That boy is arrogant. Who does he think he is?" He said I was difficult, and I didn't want to cooperate with him. Do you know what my offense was? After weeks of back and forth, calls, messages, clarifications, I simply sent him an invoice. And in that invoice, we stated something very simple. Work begins when mobilization is paid. That was it. No insults, no threats, no attitude. The client went silent for 2 full weeks. In his mind, when he comes back, work would have gone far based on our, schedule and timeline. So when he finally came back, he was so upset. I kindly told him, "We are ready to start. Your project's timeline begins the moment you commit to paying for mobilization." He was angry. He complained. He escalated. Who did he not report to self? But here's the important part. Last, he paid. Nothing bad happened. I didn't lose my career. I didn't lose my practice license. I didn't lose my mentor. And I didn't lose my reputation. What I gained was something far more important. Clarity. That experience taught me something I wish every architect learned early. When you start work without money, you are not being kind. You are training the client to delay commitments. Money is not just payment. It is intent. It is the moment a client says, "I am serious about this thing I want to do." Money doesn't follow work. Work should follow money. And the moment you understand that, the entire relationship changes. Not because you became wicked, but because you became clear. So that's number 1. Number 2, separate your payment from construction. This one is very critical. I'll say it slowly, and please say it after me. Your brain does not pour concrete. Yet, many of us tie our income to things we don't have control over. For example, client cash flow, contractor speed, material scarcity, fuel price, rain, delays. So when construction stalls, payment stalls. Even though our drawings are done, our coordination is done, our thinking is complete. That's not fair and it's not professional. Your work should be tied to time spent, the deliverables submitted, decisions made, not whether the client found money this month or not. When your work is done, your payment is due. Simple, clean, and respectful. Anything else turns you into a silent financier of that project that is not even your own. So, number 3, you need to price your presence. Let's be honest. Many of us don't lose money on drawings. We lose money on access, on limited calls, on planned meetings, quick site visits that takes almost the whole day, late night voice notes, weekend reviews. And because none of these things feels like deliverables, they usually go unpaid. But every one of them costs you something. It costs you time, it costs you energy, sometimes resources. When access is free, I found out that value most times is diluted. Pricing your presence doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you sustainable. And sustainable architects last longer than generous ones. So number 4. This one is subtle. Learn to pause. It is subtle, right? But it's very powerful. When payment delays happen, many of us, we argue, we explain. Sometimes we even beg and we over-justify things. And that usually weakens our position. Sometimes the strongest move is to pause. Not with anger, not with threats, not with emotional messages. Just a calm, professional pause. No new drawings, no extra meetings, no additional site visits. Silence. But of course, you back that up with structure. Send your letter off the pause. Silence, when structured, speaks clearly. It tells the client work and payment move together. And clients understand that language very well. So number 5, I know this is going to be the hardest one. Walk away early. Now, because architects are trained to endure, we suffer through school with the sleepless nights, so that has become a norm. We have been trained to push through, to finish strong, to manage difficult situations. And believe me, these are beautiful traits that make us who we are. Since we are taught that walking away sometimes means failure, that if we just try harder, things will improve. But hear this and hear it clearly. Walking away from a bad client early is cheaper than finishing a project unpaid. And this isn't theory. There was a time in my practice when we made a decision that scared us. Believe me, sometimes when I look back, I'm like, where did we even find the courage to do that? We walked away from a project, not because the client was shouting, not because there was drama, no, but because the signs were there and it was clear. Boundaries were being ignored. Things we say does not hold. Commitments were being delayed. Respect was slowly eroding. We had already received an advance payment, even on this one, to be honest. And after several internal conversations, we decided and we made a choice most architects still struggle with today. We refunded the client's money. We informed the client professionally. We packed our stuff and we left the site. At the time, it felt very uncomfortable because the truth is money was tight, and the refunding it seemed like a terrible decision at the time. There was fear, there were questions, there was the voice in our head saying, what if we are making a big mistake? But looking back now, that moment kind of defined a lot for us. It taught us that not every project deserves to be finished. Not every client deserves that endurance. And not every fee is worth the cost of your peace. Staying would have cost us more stress, more resentment, more compromised standards, and it would have taken up so much space for other things that would have come. Living protected our time, our energy, and our integrity. And here's the part I want you to hear clearly. We have never regretted that decision, not once. Sometimes we talk about it in the office and we just laugh. In fact, it reshaped how we choose projects today. It sharpened, how we spot red flags from far. It strengthened how we enforce boundaries now. And that experience taught us something simple but powerful. Peace is also a profit. And sometimes the best project decision you will ever make is choosing not to continue. Now, if you are listening to this early in your career, maybe you're still in school, or maybe you're just starting out, this next part is actually for you. Passion is very good. Talent is important. But let me tell you something that they don't teach us early enough. Structure protects talent. If you rely only on passion, you will burn out. If you rely only on goodwill, believe me, they will eat you raw. You will be exploited. You don't earn respect by overgiving. You earn it by setting boundaries early, calmly, clearly, professionally. It may be hard at first. That habit you form now will either protect you later or punish you quietly. So choose wisely. Alright guys, before you go, let me say this. If you have been owed money, if you felt like you've been taken for granted, if you've ever questioned your worth because of all of this, there's nothing wrong with you. You are not struggling because you lack talent. No, you are not struggling because you are not smart enough, or you are definitely, not struggling because you chose the wrong profession, like many people like to believe. You are struggling because we were taught to endure, and what we really needed was structure. But the good news is this: structures can be learned, boundaries can be built, clarity can be practiced. You don't need to become harsh, you don't need to become cold, you don't even need to become someone you are not. You just need to become clear. Clear with your time, clear with your process, and clear with your expectations. Clarity does something very powerful, something I've found out in practice. It calms you, it steadies you, it gives you confidence, and it helps you attract better clients. Because the moment you stop apologizing for your value, the world around you will adjust. Believe me, I know this as a matter of fact. So if this episode felt personal, it is because it mirrors a season many of us quietly pass through. But seasons change. You are not alone. You are not behind. You are not stuck. this profession can still be fulfilling. Your practice can still be, sustainable, and your work can still be respected. Take a deep breath. This is not the end of your story. It is the point where things begin to make sense. And this is the SILL Talks Podcast. I am your host, Egbeiyon Leonard. See you in the next conversation. Bye.